Hey, yo, brother Skeet. Hey, I know this is like Remedial 101 guitar for you, but since you're a teacher, and I love teaching kids the guitar, that's one of the most beautiful things in my world, especially my kids. I give a lot of guitars away to friends and neighbors and kids. Basically, how I teach anybody, kids or adults, how to play the guitar is like you saw with Joshua, well, with Joseph actually. The old Dunlop 2mm bad boy. That's what I always used for 25 years on the electric guitar. I like starting them off with a pick to, because I'm a fingerstyle guy. I don't play with picks anymore, but I still do these exercises to stay in shape. But what it does with the alternate picking, like Joseph was doing, even though he was using his thumb, once they do this for a few months or 6 months or a year, and graduate it up the neck and then down backwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, starting with the pinky, and then learn it across all strings all the way up and then back down. Excuse me. By the time they get this down and calluses built, then playing chords is easy, of course, but then they automatically know how to strum. I mean, you got to teach them to tap their foot and stay in time and understand timing, which is my worst problem. But then they already know how to hold a pick tightly and snug and not let it slip, fall, drop, whatever. But then after these exercises, they kind of have the whole package. I mean, there's nothing musical to it. There's zero music involved with this stuff, which is what I like. I make that very intentional, purposeful, whatever. So it's just about getting over the physical barrier of playing the guitar. I mean, that's all it's about. And then once they get through this and they can handle it, then they can deal with music, just like Joseph, man. He's wide open now. He's ready to go, you know, study some music and all his first position chords. But how I do it, I mean, I start them off just one string, and then all the way up to the 12th fret, and then I make them count it backwards. And then once they get some hand strength and some coordination, I add a string. And of course I start on all the smaller strings and graduate up to the big one. But then it's... and then of course backwards. Ooh, that sucked. Then I add the G string. And on and on and on. And then when they get all this down, and how I do it, I mean, I know this is simplified guitar, but I do this just to keep my hands in shape. I start 1st fret, 6th string. And this is my exercise. And I do this up and down the fretboard all the time. And then after the 12th fret, of course, it's backwards, back down the neck. And this just keeps my left hand in shape. It just totally keeps my left hand in shape. I don't give a shit about the pick anymore. It just gives me a little more speed and accuracy to work my left hand harder and faster. But I still do them every morning, all the time. I practice that same thing all the time, all the way up the neck and down. Gives me a lot of left hand strength for the medium gauge strings I like to use. But that's the whole thing in a nutshell, brother. I thought you might appreciate it. I teach everybody that way. And for the kids, the little E string is perfect. Or you can slap the capo on to help them out. Or generally, even with my kids, I start them around the 5th fret or the 7th fret, just to make it easier for them. But to me, that's the only way. Before you can teach children music on a guitar, they have to be able to play the guitar. And there's all these teachers in Nashville and all these teachers back home in Kansas City, Missouri that want to take your money, that absolutely want to take your money, and try to teach your kids G chords and first position chords and strumming and take your money for 6 months or a year, and then your kids quit because they're bored and they don't know how to play the goddamn instrument. It's very frustrating to me. So you take anybody, and it usually takes 3 to 6 months with kids closer to 8 or 10 or 12 years old. With my kids, of course, it takes longer, more like a year. But you teach them to get past the physical barrier of the guitar, which you do not have on the piano. And then they can play music and have fun and learn whatever songs they want. But got to get the strength. There's just no way around it. You have to be able to play the instrument before you can play music on the instrument. And none of these chowderheads in Nashville, as far as teachers go, none of them understand it. And I don't charge anybody for guitar lessons. If they want me to take my time and teach them music after a year, then I might charge somebody. But basically what I'm showing them, they can go home and do this by themselves for months and months, just after a few lessons. So anyway, long story short, those are my warm-ups, still at 51 years old almost. Still do them every day. Cheers, brother. Getting ready to smoke a slab of ribs on the grill. Love you, man.